I'm going to try and help you understand how to spot spoofing and phishing and how to know how to tell if an email is a spoof or a phish. And so first we've got to talk about what is a spoof or a phish, and then we'll learn a little bit about how they are used by people, why they do them, and then how to identify them so you don't accidentally click on the wrong things. Okay, so spoofing and phishing fall into a really broad category of things called email scams. So there are email scams because there are ways that criminals and thieves try and use them to collect personal information. And their goal is financial theft, to get some financial information that they can use, or identity theft, which can make money if they can learn about your identity and who you are. So there's probably others out there as well, but those are two of the most common reasons. So that's why there are email scams. There's also email spam, which is basically advertising to try and get you to buy things, but that's not a scam. That's not fraud or criminal activity. It's just a lot of noise out there. So there's a difference between a scam and spam. Scams are really criminal activities that people are trying to use for the purpose of stealing something. Okay, so spoofing is an imposter. It's a masquerade. So you all know what a masquerade party is, I'm sure, or a masquerade event, and you might have seen one recently called Halloween, right? People dress up as somebody else, and so that's what spoofing is called. I honestly don't know how it got the name spoofing, but that's what it's called. And so the from email address looks like it's from someone else. And there are two reasons they can do this. There's a display name, which is what you see in the from box. And then there's the actual email address that is the person sending you the email. Now, I went to a website, and on my webpage, I'll show you a couple of the articles. I have links to these. This is from Carnegie Mellon's website on email spoofing, and they show an example of John Doe, and his address is jd23950@gmail.com. And when you see it in the from box on your email, it looks like it's from John Doe. Just like when I send you an email, it looks like it comes from bob@bobology.com, and it does. An imposter would keep the from name. They'd keep it John Doe, but they would have an address at a different website. Now, technically, for those of you that want to know, after the @ sign and email addresses, this is the domain name. And we're going to have something on domain names coming up soon, but this is the domain name of where the email came from. And so you can tell by looking at the address, did this come from Bobology.com? Did it come from Microsoft.com? Did it come from USBank.com? Or did it come from something else? But the trick is to understand how to find the actual email address as opposed to just the from name. So we're going to look at how to do that. That's spoofing. Okay. To see where an email is really from, I found this great article on Google that shows you how to see where an email came from by looking at its headers. And there's a lot of information in emails when they're sent and received from people called the header. The header has information about who sent the mail, what domain it was sent from, how it was sent, what time it was sent. And it's really a lot more detail than you need to know, but there's enough of things in there that you can use to try and find out if that email came from somebody, if you're just not sure about how to look at it other than looking at from. And Gmail on this page that Google has tells you not only how to find out about it from Gmail, but also all the other mail services, Yahoo and Microsoft and Apple and others. So it's really great and explains what you want to look for in the email header. So if you know how to read an email header, you can learn a lot about where an email came from. Okay. using common sense. We heard that from one of our participants. Asking yourself, was I expecting this message? Does the email make sense? Am I being pushed to act too quickly? Some giveaways for spam and email scams. Look for it. Are they saying you got to act by a certain time? Did you even ask for it as an unsolicited request? Are they asking for personal information? Do they use a generic greeting? Are there unfamiliar links or attachments? So you can contact the sender of the message through what's called a trusted channel if you're not sure. This actually happened to me with the American Epilepsy Society. Is I got an email saying they were looking to raise funds or they had some issue with my account, and I hadn't donated anything to them, but I had taken a webinar on how to get certified in epilepsy first aid. And I sent an email from my Gmail account to the person that was the sender. And they said, no, my email was hacked and other people have been getting this. I didn't send this message out, but I didn't reply. So I used what's called a trusted channel. I knew the email I was using to send it, and I sent it to their email address, and they said, no, it's fake. Now, you might need to do a little more investigation, but that's usually a way to find out, because a lot of emails protected from people trying to spoof it, but some organizations may not have the security that's in place to always do that. Okay, phishing is a little bit different. Phishing also often uses spoofing. So lots of times you'll find a spoof and a phish combined. There's probably an opportunity for a new word there. I'm surprised somebody hasn't created it. But phishing is about an email that includes links in the body of the email. So the spoof is the imposter that sends you the email, whereas the phishing is the link that takes you to a scam website. The links appear to be legitimate, but clicking on them will take you to a scammer location. And usually what they want to do is try and collect personal information, or they have the account locked, or sometimes they'll say, hey, your account's been locked for suspicious behavior. You need to log in and verify, enter your username and password so we can verify it's you. And that gives them information about who you are that they can use to get into the real account. So phishing uses phony links. So here's some examples. I can create a Bank of America link and I can click on it. And if I click on it, I actually will open up a web page that takes me to Bobology.com. The information that's behind this link does not have to take me to Bank of America or Microsoft or Target. I can use an image to take you to somewhere else. So the idea behind what you read and where it takes you are two different things. And so that's why you should be careful when you click on links if it's not from a trusted source. Or even if you are seeing it from a trusted source, you can always just type in the link directly or type in the address directly, say Microsoft.com or bankofamerica.com into your web browser and go directly there without having to worry about clicking on a link. Those are some things. Banks, financial institutions never ask you for personal or private information. So that's one of the things to keep in mind. We've covered that before in some of our talks where people talked about security. Miriam covered it in one of hers, and they will never ask you for personal information. If they suspect your account is compromised, they're just going to lock it and prevent you from getting in, and we'll wait for you to contact them directly in order to validate who you are. And might have been through some verification questions that people have done where they do that. Or you can go to the website directly, call them on the phone, and don't stay on the webpage if you don't recognize the web address. There's always still people available. You might have to go through some voicemail menus, but they're there to help you out if you're a customer of a financial institution. Okay, so there's a new kind of phishing. Well, it's not really new, but it's been around, but it's something called spearfishing. Well, for those of you that know how to fish, you may never have used a spear to fish, but a spear requires a lot more targeting. You've got the hook in the water, you're waiting for the fish to be attracted to it and bite. But if you use a spear, you're actually targeting that fish if you're hunting that. And that's where it got the name. Usually, spearfishing is a focus on a high value individual that knows something or has money, high net worth individuals or celebrities, a corporate or a government employee with access to proprietary information. And it's a very targeted email. It's not something that's sent out generically to people. And so this is an example of a screenshot of a spearfishing from Dr. Jin's. They took away the two, and it's about information on coronavirus. So another doctor might be likely to open that. So the information in the mail and the idea that it's addressed to a specific person is customized, and they're saying, hey, open up this file, please. So that happens typically. We're not likely to get spearfished. We're more likely to just see a lot of general purpose email scam coming out, but it does exist, and corporations and high net worth individuals have to be careful of this type of targeting in emails because they're public figures. They're easy to identify. Okay. There are some technologies that try and eliminate this. It's called email authentication. I don't understand all of these at all by any means, and I don't expect you to, but I decided to do a little research. So if you want to impress your friends with some acronyms after today, by all means, feel free to take these. These technologies are called SPF, Sender Policy Framework. So email services like Gmail and Yahoo and others, they want to try and eliminate spam. And so they're trying to figure out ways to use technologies that said, I want to verify this email came from the person that it was supposed to. But from things like robocalls and things like that, it's easy for people to fake things. They're able to do it. Another technology is called DKIM, for Domain Keys Identified Mail. It allows the receiver to check that the email was sent from the domain that matches the email. And then there's something called DMARC, which indicates a sender that can say, hey, to the receiver. So if I'm using Yahoo Mail and I'm sending something to Hotmail, I can say, hey, wait a second, I use DMARC. And so they've got these two integrated, but they are trying to do things. And a lot of email that ends up in spam is tracked as spam by a lot of the common email services because they're using these tools to help identify them that way. So they are trying to help you out. There are some links on my webpage that says, what is spoofing? I do have some links here to a Carnegie Mellon University article on spoofing. They're one of the top universities in terms of computer research. There's a Federal Trade Commission page. We're going to look at this Google webpage and the Federal Trade Commission page. And then on phishing, I put up on my webpage some information about a quiz from the Federal Trade Commission. We're going to go through the quiz together, so nobody has to answer everything by themselves, okay? So what happens with Google? Google has this great web page on Gmail Help, says trace an email with its full headers. Wow, okay, that's amazing. Okay, so you can open up Gmail, open the email you want to check. Next to the reply arrow, click the three dots that says show original. It's going to show the headers. There's a lot of information in this. So let me go to my tab where I have an email here. This is an email. Make this larger for you. Okay, so it says, I just sent it to myself and I said, what is this? So if you look at Gmail and here's the reply icon, they're talking about these three dots where it says more. Okay, if I click on more, and one of the things I can do is I can look at the headers here. Okay, so we're show original. If I click on show original, now you're not going to like what you see. I almost guarantee that. But let me do show original here. And this is the original message. It has a lot of information. Okay, so first of all, it does tell you when it was created, who it's from, and it shows the from email address as well. Sometimes you can see this in the email when you're looking at it, but this is what you want to pay attention to. My emails will come from bob@bobology.com. I also have a Gmail account. I sent this to myself. Okay, so they have, here's this SPF. If you ask me what SPF means now, no, I can't tell you without looking at it, but it means it passed. Okay, here's DKIM, it passed. So this was screened as a genuine email, not a spoofing or scam email by Google. Okay, so let's take a look at what is in here. And I'm going to take up my annotation tool because there's a lot to look at here. So it was delivered to B. Cohen at gmail.com, received, source. Oh my gosh, all these things are so confusing here. So where do we find something? Let's scroll down a little more. Okay, let me stop that because I have to move my mouse here. I'm looking for something that says return path. Okay, return path means that's who sent it. That tells me, okay, it came from bob@bobology.com. So here's the, and so it's legitimate. Okay, so these are one of the things I can look at if I really, really want to dig into this and try and identify where this email came from. I can find this return path right here. But you can usually see that from the header of the email as well if you just look at that. Here's the SPF pass. Google verified it. Here's the DK domain. That means that I'm authorized. Google thinks I'm authorized to send an email from the domain. This is often where spoofers get they're constantly trying to hack into websites that don't have secure email in their systems, and they can kind of hijack the email from that service. They can send something out that looks like it's coming from that domain. So even sophisticated spoofers can impersonate somebody that way. So these are some interesting things. There's a lot more here that has nothing to do with spoofing or scamming, but there are lots of information here that exists in an email header that you may not have even known exists, and we don't have to even look at all of this that we want to identify, just those things that are important. But this original message information will help you identify things as well. Okay, so those are a few things. Now I'm going to bring up a different share screen to show you some email I've got in my inbox here. And let me make this larger again for you. Let's see if I have a way to zoom in. I don't know if I can zoom in on that. So let's see. Okay, so I have an email from Quicken Loans here. And what I see in Quicken Loans is I see this email. And how do I know it's from Quicken Loans or not? Well, as it actually turns out, it's not. In Apple Mail, I can scroll over the from at a box here and I can click on it. And I will see, and it's very hard to see, I know, but it says mail-no reply at google.com. Why does it say that? Well, the reason it says that is because Google is an advertiser. So that Google lets Quicken send out advertising, and they let advertisers send out advertising. It'll come from google.com. So I know that even though this doesn't come from Quicken, it is a google.com email. Now, if I want to click on this link, I can click on the link and open up this in a browser, and it'll tell me that it basically is a Google ad. So I can do this and click. So here's why people like Gmail and Google and Yahoo, they don't want spam and they don't want email scammers, because it jeopardizes the legitimacy of an ad. So if you got this and you might think, well, that doesn't look like it's real, I'm not going to click on that. And they make money from selling ads to people like that want to send ads out to using google.com to people with Gmail accounts. And so they want to be able to do that. So those are some things that you can do. So this page on Google that shows this is really, really well, that shows how to work with Google and work with them in terms of all their different tracing emails, is really helpful, because it says here's Gmail, but it has information on AOL, how to identify it, Excite, Hotmail, Yahoo, Apple, Mozilla, Opera, Outlook, Outlook Express. So it can really help you identify those things and determine what they are, and then figure out where you want to go with a website.